Hi, and welcome to a Good Friday edition of Fairly Unbalanced with me, Mike Tallon. As I'm sure you have been, I've just been marveling at the absolute absurdity of what's been going on in Tennessee for the past couple of weeks. As you undoubtedly know, there was a shooting in Tennessee a few weeks ago, and there were three children murdered, and there were three adults murdered. And the students across Tennessee have kind of risen up against that, and they marched on the state capitol demanding some sort of action. But of course, the Tennessee State Legislature is controlled by very, very conservative MAGA crazy heads. There was a protest at the Capitol, and three members of the Democratic caucus of the state legislature joined in. Two young black men who are representatives, Justin Pearson and Justin Jones, and one middle-aged white woman, Gloria Johnson, all joined in the protest. And this breach of decorum was so egregious to the Republican leadership that they held a vote yesterday, and they decided to expel two of those members. Let you guess which two. They voted to expel by a two-thirds majority vote the two young black men who are state representatives, Justin Pearson and Justin Jones. They did not vote to expel the white lady. When Gloria Johnson, the white lady, was asked why she thought that she wasn't expelled but the other two guys were, she said, well, I think it's pretty obvious. I'm a 60-year-old white lady and they're young black men. Now, that's absurd. It's absurd on so many levels. Not her statement. The fact that these men were ejected from the Tennessee State Legislature is absurd. Her observations about it are spot on. It's absurd because that legislative body currently has a member who is a pedophile and another one who abuses his kids. They haven't been expelled. That legislative body has held, over the past century and a half, countless members of the Ku Klux Klan. It probably still does. And none of those members were expelled, but these two young, brave black men who represent 78,000 people apiece were removed from the chamber and kicked out of the state legislature. Absolutely absurd. And it will come back to bite the GOP on the ass, undoubtedly. But that's not why I'm making this video today. What's even more absurd about this, and it is worth pausing to reflect upon, is in a state very, very close to Tennessee, just a few states over, I can't remember what the hell's in the middle, I think Georgia's in the middle, in the state of Florida, Ron DeSantis's whack jobs in the past year have passed something they call the Stop Woke Act, which is detailed in its explanations, but it is an effort by the extreme right to prevent CRT, critical race theory, from being discussed in Florida high schools. Now think about this. The idea behind the Stop Woke Act, one of the main motivating forces, is a charge that you cannot discuss things like critical race theory, which states that there is a structural history. There are structures within American society that reach back into our past and persist to the present that are manifestations of extreme racism. And you can't teach that in Florida schools now because it might make some white kids feel uncomfortable, or more to the point, it might upset some of their parents, as did Michelangelo's David's dick a couple of weeks ago. They don't seem to mind Hunter Biden's dick, but Michelangelo's David's dick is a real problem for them. And if you're a teacher in Florida, you have to be wary of running afoul of those teachers if you were to discuss, say, what's happening in Tennessee right now. For years, I taught high school in Brooklyn. I had an advanced placement class, I had honors classes, but really in any of my classes, from the general population classes up to the advanced placement classes, if something like this were to happen while I was teaching, I would expect my students to question me about it when I got into school the next day. That is undoubtedly happening in Florida right now. And across public schools in Florida, Students, Generation Z students, are coming into class and they're saying to their teachers, we heard about this thing that happened in Tennessee a couple of days ago. Do you want to talk about it? And the teachers are going to have to say, I'm sorry, I might get fired if I discuss that, because that would have to enter into conversations about structural racism in our society. What are the kids left with out of that? Does Ron DeSantis or do the MAGA forces in Tennessee really expect that the result of that is that the next generation of students in America are going to go, oh, well, I guess there's no such thing as racism in America. Gee shucks. Or are they going to say, oh my God, these people on the MAGA right are absolutely out of their mind. They're absolutely absurd. I kind of tend to think it's going to be the latter. It is a tragedy. It is disgusting what has happened to Justin Pearson and Justin Jones. But it is not a loss for the people on our progressive side of this. It is a loss for the fascists. The tide is rising against them, and we have just seen a generation of young leaders in Tennessee rise to meet that challenge. God bless. Love to you all, unless you're a fascist, and we'll talk to you soon on a less absurd version of Fairly Unbalanced. I hope.